Okay, so looks like we've got a stack of legal terms to wade through today.
Right.
Some real meaty stuff.
Yeah.
We're talking about, precedent,
Burden of proof.
burden of proof,
Damages.
damages,
Damages.
cross-examination,
Dedication.
mitigation injunctions,
Statute of limitations.
statute of limitations,
Amicus curiae.
amicus curiae, probable cause.
Yeah, the whole 9 yards.
The whole 9 yards, yeah.
Sounds like somebody's getting ready for law school.
That's right. Or maybe just looking to,
Or just want
be more informed
Yeah.
citizen.
Yeah.
So
When it comes to
when it comes to
the legal system.
the legal jargon. Yeah. So let's dive right in
Okay.
and start with this idea of precedent. I mean,
Right.
we hear that word all the time, right?
All the time. Yeah.
Especially when we're talking about,
Landmark cases.
Supreme Court decisions.
Right. Exactly.
What does it actually mean in the legal sense?
So precedent really, it's about ensuring consistency and fairness in the legal system.
Okay.
It means that a court decision in a previous case
Right.
serves as a guide for similar cases in the future. So,
Okay.
if a judge ruled a certain way
Yeah.
in a case involving, say, freedom of speech,
Yeah.
that ruling sets a precedent
Right.
for how similar cases should be decided down the road.
So it's kind of like a legal roadmap in a way.
Exactly.
Creates some consistency.
It's consistency.
Helps judges navigate,
Exactly.
cases.
It ensures
Right.
that the
Sure.
law is applied
Past rulings.
predictably and that,
Yeah. Yeah.
similar cases are treated alike.
I mean, are there ever times, though, when, precedent maybe isn't the best way to go? I mean, like,
Yeah.
times change,
Absolutely. Times change and societal values evolve.
Yeah.
So precedent isn't always set in stone.
Yeah.
Judges can distinguish cases based on unique facts
Yeah.
or changing societal norms.
Right. And sometimes higher courts can actually overturn precedents set by lower courts,
Okay.
which can lead to significant shifts
Yeah.
in legal interpretation.
Interesting.
So it's a dynamic system.
Yeah.
It's constantly being refined
Okay.
and reinterpreted.
So it's kind of like a living,
Yeah.
breathing thing.
Exactly. It's not just
And not just static.
stuck in time.
Yeah.
It can change.
All right. Well, let's move on to another
Sure.
big one here. Burden of proof.
Okay.
I always think of this, in terms of like
Yeah.
courtroom dramas.
Right.
Who
Who has to prove what?
has to prove what?
Right.
Break it down for us.
So imagine like a scale of justice.
right.
The burden of proof determines
Right.
who has to tip that scale
Okay.
in their favor.
All right.
So
right.
in a criminal trial, for example,
Right.
the prosecution bears that burden.
Okay.
They have to prove the defendant's guilt
Yeah.
beyond a reasonable doubt.
Which is a very high standard.
Right, and that's to protect the innocent.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. It's a fundamental principle of our legal system. Innocent until proven guilty.
Right.
So that high burden of proof
Yeah.
helps to safeguard against wrongful convictions.
So what about in like civil cases?
Okay.
We're not talking about
Right.
Someone going to jail.
Right.
But maybe like
So in civil cases,
contract dispute or something.
the standard of proof is a little lower.
Okay.
It's called a preponderance of the evidence,
Okay.
which basically means the plaintiff
Right.
just has to show that it's more likely than not
Okay.
that the defendant is liable.
I see.
So it's a lower bar to clear
Yeah.
than beyond a reasonable doubt.
Okay. Interesting. So it's a little more nuanced
It is, yeah.
than just, guilty or not guilty.
Right, exactly.
All right. Well, let's talk about damages.
Okay.
I mean, this is something that, people want to know about.
Right, right. If they've been wronged,
If they've been wronged,
how do they get compensated?
how are they made whole?
Right.
What are the ways that
Yeah.
the law recognizes that?
So damages is a broad term.
Okay.
It encompasses various types of financial compensation.
Okay.
One type is called compensatory damages.
Okay.
And the aim of these is to make the victim whole.
Okay.
So to cover things like,
Like their actual losses?
their actual losses,
Yeah.
medical bills,
Right.
lost wages, property damage.
And I'm injured.
Exactly.
I'm out of work for a while.
Right.
Those are things that
You could seek compensatory damages
Yeah.
for those losses.
Okay, makes sense. But what if
Yeah.
someone's actions are just
Right.
particularly egregious?
Right.
They're just like reckless or malicious.
Uh-huh.
I mean, is there something beyond?
Yeah. So that's where punitive damages come in. Punitive damages are designed to punish the defendant
Okay.
and to deter similar conduct in the future.
I see.
So think of like a company that knowingly sells
Right.
a defective product that causes injuries.
Yeah?
A court might award punitive damages
Right.
on top of those compensatory damages
Right.
to really send a message.
So it's not
Just about making the victim whole. It's
Right.
about holding the wrongdoer accountable
Okay.
in a bigger way.
And what about situations where,
Yeah.
maybe someone's rights are violated, but there's not like a clear,
Right.
dollar amount attached to it?
Yeah. So in those cases, nominal damages might be awarded.
Okay.
I think of it as like a symbolic victory.
Yeah.
Acknowledging the wrongdoing,
Yeah.
even if the harm is primarily to one's dignity
Yeah.
or reputation.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so
Yeah.
let's move on to a term that I think a lot of people are familiar with, at least from, watching legal dramas.
Right.
Cross-examination.
There's a cross-examination.
Those
intense courtroom scenes.
Yeah, those intense courtroom scenes where the lawyers are really
Grilling
the witness,
yeah.
grilling the witness.
Yeah.
Why is that such an important part of our...
Well, so cross-examination is really a crucial part of our adversarial system.
Yeah.
It allows the opposing party
Right.
to test the credibility
Okay.
and the reliability of a witness's testimony.
I see.
So, a skilled lawyer
Right.
can use cross-examination
Yeah.
to expose inconsistencies,
Yeah.
to challenge assumptions,
Uh-huh.
and, even sometimes reveal outright lies.
Yeah.
It's about digging deeper into the evidence
Okay.
and ensuring that the jury hears all sides of the story.
So it's really about getting to the truth.
Exactly.
That's
It's about uncovering the truth.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about
Sure.
mitigation. So we hear this sometimes, in terms of like
Yeah.
mitigating damages or mitigating a punishment.
Right.
What does that actually mean?
So think of mitigation kind of like damage control.
Okay.
It involves presenting evidence
Okay.
or arguments to try to reduce the severity of a punishment or the amount of damages awarded.
Okay.
So in a criminal case, for example,
Yeah.
a defendant might express remorse,
Right.
accept responsibility for their actions, or
Right.
highlight their good character
Yeah.
to try to mitigate their sentence
Okay.
in a contract dispute.
Right.
A party might show that they took reasonable steps
Uh-huh.
to minimize the losses,
Okay.
which could potentially reduce the damages they owe.
So it's like trying to lessen.
Lessen the impact of
Yeah.
the wrongdoing.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to injunctions.
Okay.
These always sound really powerful to me.
They are.
I mean,
They are.
what exactly is an injunction?
So an injunction is a court order that compels a party
Yeah.
to either do something
Okay.
or refrain from doing something.
All right.
So think of a restraining order
Right.
that prohibits someone from contacting another person.
Yep.
Or imagine a construction project
Okay.
that's violating environmental regulations.
Yeah.
A court could issue an injunction
Right.
to halt the project
Okay.
until those issues are addressed.
So it's kind of like a legal
It's a powerful tool.
stop button.
Exactly. It
Yeah.
provides a way to prevent harm or
Yeah.
to stop ongoing violations
Yeah.
before a full trial even takes place.
Interesting. All right. Well,
Yeah.
let's tackle another
Okay.
Latin term here.
All right.
Mens rea.
Mens rea.
Why is this idea of a guilty mind so important?
Right. So mens rea, it's about intent.
Okay.
And it helps us distinguish
Right.
between accidental harm
Okay.
and intentional wrongdoing.
Okay.
So, a driver who accidentally runs a red light
Yeah.
and causes an accident is going to be treated differently
Yeah.
than someone who intentionally uses their car
Right.
as a weapon.
To hurt someone.
Exactly. So understanding the level of intent
Okay.
helps us determine the appropriate level of punishment.
So it's the difference between like
Exactly.
manslaughter and
Exactly.
premeditated murder.
The act might be the same,
Right.
but the mental state, the mens rea,
Yeah.
drastically changes the legal consequences.
Okay. Fascinating. All right. Let's move on to statute of limitations.
Okay.
So, we hear about this a lot in legal cases.
Right.
Why do we have these deadlines?
So statutes of limitations
Yeah.
serve a few different purposes.
Okay.
Firstly, they ensure fairness to the
Okay.
defendant.
Okay.
As time passes,
Yeah.
evidence can be lost,
Sure.
memories fade, witnesses become harder to locate.
Yeah.
And so it's generally considered unfair
Right.
to hold the threat of a lawsuit
Yeah.
over someone indefinitely.
Okay.
Secondly,
Statutes of limitations encourage prompt action
right.
by plaintiffs,
Okay.
ensuring that legal disputes are resolved
Yeah.
while the evidence is still fresh.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean,
Yeah.
you wouldn't want someone to be able to sue you for something that happened,
Exactly.
30 years ago.
Exactly. It would be chaos.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, let's talk about amicus curiae.
Okay.
Sounds very formal.
It does sound very formal, but it actually means friend of the court,
Okay.
which is much less intimidating.
Right.
An amicus curiae is a person or an organization
Okay.
that isn't a party to the case,
Right.
but has a strong interest in the outcome.
I see.
And they can submit briefs
Yep.
to the court offering their expertise,
Right.
research, or even alternative perspectives
Mm-hmm.
that might influence the court's decision.
So, for example, if we're talking about an environmental case,
Right.
you might have an environmental group.
Exactly.
Right.
As an amicus
Curiae.
curiae.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a way to kind of like, it's a way to bring more voices to the table.
More voices and expertise
Yeah.
into the legal process.
Okay. And then finally, let's talk about
Right.
probable cause.
Probable cause.
I mean, we hear that all the time.
Yeah, especially with
Especially with law enforcement.
law enforcement. Yeah.
What does it actually mean?
So probable cause is a reasonable belief
Okay.
that a crime has been committed.
Okay.
It's a lower standard of proof
Right.
than beyond a reasonable doubt,
Right.
but it's crucial
Yeah.
because it's the basis for arrests,
Right.
searches, and warrants.
Okay.
It protects individuals
Right.
from unreasonable searches and seizures,
Yeah.
but it also gives law enforcement the tools to investigate,
Right.
apprehend suspects.
So if a police officer sees someone, behaving suspiciously around a car,
That observation
that could be probable cause.
might give them probable cause.
Yeah, to investigate.
Investigate further.
Right. So it's about finding that balance.
Exactly. It's about striking that balance
Yeah.
between individual rights
Yeah.
and the needs of law enforcement
Right.
to do their job.
Okay. Well, wow. I feel like we
Yeah.
covered a lot of ground here today.
We did a whirlwind tour
A whirlwind tour
of the legal system.
of the legal system.
But it's so fascinating
Yeah.
how these terms, which might seem like legal jargon, actually reflect
Right.
these fundamental principles of fairness, justice, and due process.
Yeah. It's not just about,
It's not just,
throwing
Yeah.
around fancy words.
it's not about legalese.
Yeah.
It's about these core
Right.
concepts that
And underpin our legal system.
underpin our entire legal system. And
Exactly.
it's a reminder that
And these terms,
the law is always evolving. They have real-world consequences to shape
they shape our world.
how laws are interpreted,
Yeah.
how cases are argued,
Yeah.
and ultimately how justice is delivered.
Exactly.
And the law is constantly evolving. It's responding
Yeah.
to new challenges and societal shifts.
Right.
So it's a fascinating field,
It is a fascinating field.
always changing.
Always changing. So
Yeah.
I guess we've got more to explore in future deep dives.
Absolutely. What other legal puzzles are out there?
Yeah, keep those questions coming.
Keep them coming.
And we'll be back to tackle more of this
More legal mysteries.
fascinating world of law.
All right.
All right. Thanks for listening.